Stop! No shredding allowed in today's video. Let's talk about the awesome topic of music theory once again. I would like to show you a pretty life-changing way of learning and visualizing scales all across the neck today. This might really change your playing forever, and it's based on a tool that you might have heard about already, the infamous circle of fifths. So let's not waste any more time and get started right away. So in case you never heard about it before, the circle of fifths is a principle in music theory that begins with C, or the key of C major, because it has no sharps or flats. And it repeatedly moves up in steps of a perfect fifth for every key until we arrive at C major again. As you might know from previous videos when we talked about the names and sounds of the intervals, a perfect fifth describes the interval most commonly referred to as the power chord by guitar players. So to start out in a more practical way, you can visualize the steps of the circle of fifths like that. In case you actually missed earlier and very important music theory episodes, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now. That is the only way of staying updated and of becoming a real part of this guitar community. This is all about becoming a better player every single week, and you want to stay on track. So when we go down the major keys, we move up a perfect fifth each time. For example, from C to G, that's a perfect fifth. Then from G to D, that is another perfect fifth, and so on. And as you can see, when we're going down these major keys relative minor keys, we're also moving up in perfect fifths. So from A to E to B, and so on. We won't go into detail about using this really helpful tool for songwriting, cadences, and so on, since I want to move to the really cool exercise I want to show you today as fast as possible. Today we are only interested in one thing, the changing accidentals for each key. As we said in the beginning, we start out with the key of C major, or its relative minor key A minor, because they have no sharps or flats in them. So as you probably know already, the key of C major and the key of A minor have the same notes in them, simply in a different order. In C major, we have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And in A minor, we have the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now here's where it starts to get really interesting. The circle of fifths arranges the keys in a sequence of moving up through the sharp keys. For example, C major, as we discussed, has no sharps, G major has one sharp, F sharp, and so on. It then works down the flat keys from G flat major with 6 flats down through F major, 1 flat to C major again. And that is the exact point where I had my light bulb moment at the conservatory. I remember asking myself, wait, so G major has the same notes as C major with just one exception, F sharp? And I already know the C major scale all across the neck, so when I only change this one note, when I change F to F sharp, I get a completely new scale. This is a really powerful thought, because you start to move away from visualizing scale boxes across the neck, like really just seeing the dots where you have to press down on the fretboard, and you start to get a deeper understanding of the connection and theory of all these scales. I will show you an extremely powerful exercise that makes all of this much more practical very soon. For now, let's just check out a basic example, a lick in C major. Now let's say I'd like to work with this exact idea in the key of G major, because there's a key change coming up in the song. As guitarists, we are guilty of constantly thinking in scale boxes, so most of us would probably move this idea up or down to fit the right scale box for the right key. Often we move licks and ideas up or down the fretboard to certain positions that we don't actually want to play in, simply because we can think of a fitting arpeggio shape or a scale box that has the root note in this particular area. So this new kind of knowledge that we just discussed comes in very handy right now. Let's see what happens when we just change F to F sharp to fit the new key. So So as you could see, I really just had to change one note and I didn't even think about any complicated scale diagrams or scale boxes and all of that. This is just a basic example, of course, but think about the amazing possibilities you get from switching between different keys in that kind of fluid way. Especially when you're improvising, you will sound much less predictable and like you're just moving patterns around to fit different chords and keys. But of course, this way of thinking requires some fretboard visualization skills. So if you can't really visualize the notes on your fretboard yet, I really recommend working with different exercises we discussed so far, like the octave triangle, for example. Now it's finally time for the exercise I want to show you. So if you want to familiarize yourself with this really powerful system, I recommend the following approach. For this one, we're just working with a very small scale position for C major. So we're playing the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, just in this one octave. And then we start to go through the circle of fifths, always just changing one more note. So for the next key, G major, we have to change F to F sharp, but we are still starting with C as the first note so that the pattern remains the same. So for the second repetition of the exercise, you are playing C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and B. And then you just keep moving through the entire circle of fifths. Let's check out how the full exercise looks and sounds like. As always, you can download the tabs, guitar profiles, and a really helpful backing track for this exercise on patreon.com/BERNTH. You can download these extremely helpful files for every single YouTube video, and we also have a closed and secret Facebook group. In that one, I can give personal feedback to videos, technique, or theory questions, and of course, I'd also love to welcome you to the inner circle. So as you could see, I was only changing one note in this small scale fragment as I was moving through all the keys in the circle of fifths. And this is a great and really eye-opening way of understanding the relationship of all these major and their relative minor keys. This way of thinking really opened the door for a lot of really interesting concepts and ideas when it comes to my playing and improvisation especially. And I really hope that I could help and that this is a big game changer for you as well. Please let me know in the lesson votings on Patreon if we should explore this topic a bit more. This is just a basic introduction to the circle of fifths. In the end, make sure to subscribe to join our YouTube community today. Leave a like in case you enjoyed this video and a comment in case you have any further questions concerning this topic. I will hopefully see you again in the next video. All the best and have a lot of fun exploring this really exciting topic until then.